Right, when you are waking up and you're starting to leave your scapegoat role, there are a few barriers that we can face as we try to create a new life. Hi, my name is Olivia. I'm passionate about helping you understand what relational trauma is so that you can heal, overcome it, and ultimately move on with your life. So when you're waking up from that role and you start to peel some of those layers off, it becomes pretty clear that you've been living, or we've been living, in a way that was placed on us. So it was a mold that was put on us. A scapegoat role is not something we signed up for. We didn't learn about it and thought it sounded good. And so let me just go ahead and dedicate my life to this. It's usually forced upon us. We're manipulated into it. We're very much controlled. So as you're waking up from it, one thing we want to do is start to dream and create a new life for ourselves. It's vital in that process that we develop a support system, because a support system can really help us get out of that role much more quickly. It can speed up that process, but also it's one thing that's going to keep us from going back to it. So you can leave that scapegoat role, but if you don't develop a healthy support system, you're more likely to get sucked back in for many reasons. But as we're moving forward and we're starting to cultivate this new life, we want to begin to dream up a life, because when you're a scapegoat, you're so controlled and manipulated that you're really not living a life that you want. You're really not living a life that you love. So it's important that as we kind of turn the bend, we start to dream and really figure out, who am I? What is it that I love? How do I want to spend my time? How do I want to live my life? All of that now is suddenly on the horizon and brand new. So here are some of the barriers that we face when we're trying to create a support system, because when you're trying to do this, it is going to take a support system, and we're really not used to it. We are used to being the support system. We're used to being of service. We're used to being really valuable in another person's life so that they don't leave us. But we're not really used to asking for what we need. We're not used to accepting help. We're not used to allowing someone to serve us. All of that feels very foreign, very weird. So to be able to open up and receive a support system, there's a few things that we need to learn and some barriers we got to overcome. So one of the barriers is learning how to share in a vulnerable, authentic way that does not involve defending and explaining yourself. And I will leave a card to another video that's going to explain what that is. So a lot of times when we're trying to share who we are and how we feel, what we're really doing is pushing an agenda to show that it's not our fault or to show that we're innocent. That is not the same as just allowing yourself to be a human being and just share a need or share a want or share a dream. It's very hard for us to do that because we have not been able to do that. We've been taught, no, your job is listen to my dream, and your job is listen and help me with my need, but your job is not to share your need and your dream. So it's sort of like brand new waters for us, and we have to learn how to navigate that. So one thing is learning how to be vulnerable without an agenda, just being real and raw. But part of that comes from, or part of being able to do that in a healthy, effective way, is being able to learn who is a good support and who is not. Right? Because not everyone is going to be a good support for you. And also, what is a supportive relationship? What does that look like? So if you go to A Scapegoat No More Forever, you can find this on Amazon. We're also going to go through the list right now. On page 52, it's going to give us, what is the purpose of a support system? What are healthy, supportive relationships made of? So here are 3 points. So the first one is, the individuals in your life you can call on for empathetic, non-judgmental, and loving advice when you need it. So it's empathetic, meaning they're with you in that, right? They're in the lows, they're in the highs. They're just feeling what you're feeling at that time, like, oh, that sounds painful, or wow, that is so cool, right? They're kind of going along with you emotionally. That doesn't mean, they're hopping on our train wreck if we're on a train that's wrecking, but they're imagining how it must feel to be on a train that's wrecking. And they're non-judgmental, so they're not critical. They're not pointing out, every single thing that you did to get yourself there and how now you're reaping the benefits of your own mess, right? That would be a bit more critical, a bit more judgmental. Instead of just empathetic, like, that sounds terrible, and who can't relate to that? Everyone's kind of done that to themselves. And also, it's loving. So when they're giving you advice, you can feel the love in what it is they're telling you. Whether they're telling you, maybe you need to do this differently, or hey, that's like a really bad idea. Or it could be, you know what, you just need to hang on and it's like your breakthrough's coming, but like just stay the course. Whatever line of the advice that's coming back to you, you can feel the love in what the person has said. And if you're like, ooh, I don't know if I can feel that or not, I would say you probably can. You just haven't tapped into it enough. So just pay attention. How do you feel when they're talking to you? And a lot of times you can hear really hard stuff from someone loves you. But when someone doesn't love you, it's really hard to hear probably anything from them. So that's the first part. It's an individual in your life. They are empathetic, non-judgmental, and they are loving in their advice when you get it. That is someone who, that's part of what a supportive relationship is made up of. We really need that feedback. We really need that type of a support where someone is going to give us advice, but it's loving, it's non-judgmental, and it's empathetic. If you're not really getting advice from anyone, that's not always the best. That doesn't mean you take all advice that's given to you, but we all need to have people we're bouncing ideas off of, that we're going to for advice, that we're going to for support. And having that, man, that can really help you in a dark time. That's really a precious, valuable thing to have in your life. And you deserve to have that. Everybody does. Okay, so the second one, again on page 52, it's someone to talk to you and to share your worries, your victories, and your goals with. They worry with you, they celebrate with you, and they encourage you. So just even being able to share like, this is what I'm doing, and this is what I'm planning. This is where I'm hoping this goes. These are some of the goals I have, right? They are right there with you to hear that. If you have someone in your life that anytime you start talking about a goal and you're passionate, you share this whole thing and they just kind of go, or you tell them about a victory that you just experienced and they're like, and then they start talking about something else. That is not a person who's showing you, this is not a good supportive relationship. That's not who you keep sharing with. And it's kind of interesting because with scapegoats, one thing that I've noticed, maybe you've noticed this too, we tend to really chase rejection. So it's kind of like the more victories we share and the more we're dismissed and shut down or shot down, the more we try to like prove the next victory. Like, you know what I mean? So then we're just chasing this rejection and it's such a waste of time and so painful. That's one thing we have to stop doing. When you share a victory and that's like nothing to that person, maybe you try maybe 1 or 2 times more, it's up to you. But eventually it's like, okay, you're not a support for me. That doesn't mean we can't be friends to a degree. It doesn't mean I can't keep you in my life to a degree, but it just means these really precious, valuable gems that I own, that I've been working on, you're not someone I'm going to give those to. It doesn't mean I can't go see a movie with you or to a concert or maybe even go to coffee. It doesn't mean I can't have you in my life, but I'm just not going to be that vulnerable with my precious stones. I'm going to give those to someone else. So hopefully that's sinking in somewhere. Okay, so number 3, they make time for you just like you make time for them. When you're a scapegoat, it's really, tell me if you experience this too. You can leave it in the comment. Do you have a hard time hanging up on the phone? So you're just kind of like, you're not very good at saying like, okay, well, thanks so much for talking to me. I hope you have a great rest of your night and I'm going to go and do this and I'll talk to you later. If that's very hard for you to say, very normal for a scapegoat. We're usually just on the phone until somebody says those things to us. So you can feel trapped. So a lot of times we avoid the phone because we don't know how to get off. It's so hard, right? So just being mindful, if you're with someone who is showing a good supportive relationship, they're going to make time for you. They want to hear from you just like they want to share with you. If you're with someone who calls you and they talk the entire time, and then right before they're about to get off the phone, they're like, I want to know what's going on with you too. So how about you? I think in a healthy, supportive relationship where there's reciprocity, there's that give and take, I think there are times when one of you for sure is going to have something going on and they're going to need to share more. And then at some point, it's going to be your turn and you're going to be the one that needs that time to share more. But it's when it's always someone only sharing, right? It's always only going one way. That is not a good supportive relationship. That you may be their support and you may be okay with that. And you may be just fine accepting that. And that's okay too, because we will have those types of relationships. And that is the purpose we have. But a good supportive relationship for you is one where someone is making time for you too. So be mindful of that. There will be give and take, and it's going to be mutual. So those are some traits of a healthy, supportive relationship. There is the give and take. They are making time for you. They're with you in your highs and your lows. They are giving you advice, but it's non-judgmental. It's loving. It's very empathetic. So it's someone who can be with you at the pit, someone who can be with you at the peak. It's someone who makes time for you. Those are all signs of a good, healthy, supportive relationship. So imagine going through life without having that. You don't ever have someone you could get good, loving advice from. You don't have someone who's in your corner cheering you on. You don't have someone who is celebrating you. This is one huge disadvantage of being a scapegoat. It is truly isolating. It is truly lonely. It's a very lonely journey. So that's the life of a scapegoat. And remember, we're trying to leave that and create a new life. So to do that, we need to open ourselves up to having support, but we also have to be wise when we do it. So someone who can reciprocate, who's making time, who's cheering you on, who is celebrating you, those are the people who are your support. Those are the ones you give those gems to. So that's part of it. So we talked about one of the barriers is not being able to open up and be vulnerable. We're also used to chasing rejection. So the more you dismiss us, the harder we're going to work for your approval to win you over, because that's in a weird way how we're feeling safe, right? If I can win you over, then I feel safe, when I'm a lot safer if I just keep you at an arm's length. It's very backwards in our thinking, and how we can see once we understand the role of a scapegoat, why you're chosen for a scapegoat, how it's cultivated, all of those things that go into it. That's what eventually leads us to chase rejection. And we want to stop doing that. That's not serving us. That's not serving the other person. All we're doing truly is wasting our own time. You're just wasting your time. So we have to learn about this support thing. So that was the first part of it, is learning what a healthy, supportive relationship is made up of. So it's like, okay, now take inventory. Do you currently have those traits in any of your relationships? Are any of your relationships like that, where there is the give and take? You do have someone who cheers you on. You do have someone who celebrates your victories. You do have someone who gives you that non-judgmental, loving, empathetic advice when you need it. And if so, then that is part of your support. And those are the people that you want to continue cultivating a relationship with. You can also take inventory the other way. If you have people who it's not mutual, there is not reciprocity, there is not the give and take, they do not cheer you on, they are very critical of everything that you do. You know, even if you do something well, they still have something to say about how you did it. That's not going to be a good support for you, because all it's going to end up doing is discouraging you, even if the person has good intentions. So pay attention. If you have those types of relationships, you might want to keep those at a bit more of an arm's distance, especially when you're sharing your dreams, especially when you're sharing your victories. Because if you're sharing your dreams and your victories and someone continues to be critical and critique you, that's not going to help you get to this spot of a new life. Whereas if you have someone who can just listen to a victory and just celebrate it with you as a victory, that's really going to help, project you and push you into a new level of success and a new level of living a life that you love. So pay attention, take inventory. Hopefully you practice sharing a need this week, or you practice sharing just, something that you're struggling with someone that you trust. And you make sure that you don't identify a bad guy, because I'll leave a link to a card above as well. When you have a bad guy that you're sharing, and you have this person who's like a villain or a monster, then we tend to make ourselves really vulnerable, and then we try to look for a hero. That's still not the same as sharing. That's part of that old role. When we're sharing, we just want to keep it to us, keep about what we're struggling, and talk about, steps on moving forward. That's how you know you're sharing in a healthy way. And you only do that with someone who's built trust with you, by showing you that they can be a good support. If you're like, wow, I don't have a single person in my life that I have a relationship with who fits any of those criterias that you just went through, And I would say that's perfectly normal for being a scapegoat, and it's okay. That's why we're having this conversation now, so that you can learn. So stay tuned for the next video, and in that one, we're going to talk about what are some traits that we can look for in a person that has the potential to be a good support for us. So if you're in that place where you're trying to build more support or just start a support system, be sure you stick around and watch that one, because it's going to help you kind of pick out the type of a person that is going to be, better for you, that's actually going to be a potential support. So again, you can find this on Amazon. It's my book, A Scapegoat No More Forever. Also, I'll leave some videos that are going to help you on your journey that you can stick around and go watch. And then I'll see you in the next one to talk about who has the potential to be a good support for you. So take good care, and I'll see you in the next one.